This video is created for a memory aid for our participants from our self-suspension workshop weekends, as well as our rope suspension fundamental workshops that we run. I won't be going into the nuance as to why I choose this particular method for beginners. This is not a replacement for in-person tuition. Rope suspension is dangerous, and I highly recommend learning off people in person to go through context, nuance, and details. With that in mind, let's get started. To get started on this, I've created a very simple hanger on a couple of my bands. I've made sure that my tails or working ends are coming up this side of my carabiner. I'm just going to see where it wants to sit nicely. Essentially what we want to do is create a beautiful open oval shape here. It wants to sit on this side of the carabiner, so we're going to take it up on the outside, around, and to the middle. And we want to keep this really beautiful O shape going. So actually, if I just rotate towards the camera, you might be able to see that better. So I've come from the outside to the inside. We're going from the outside to the inside, making sure we have no twists in our lines. We're creating a 3-to-1 system for mechanical advantage. So we have 3 lines hauling on our load and 1 hauling line, so it's a 3-to-1 system. You know you've done this step right when you can create a nice beautiful oval shape with your lines, and you create this beautiful O, and you can stick your head through it and go, oh my god, I've done it. Please don't actually do that when a human is on it. The less wild answer to know you've done it right is when you can separate these lines and you can clearly see the bottom of this carabiner, and you can clearly see the top of this carabiner. So there's no lines twisting, and it's a nice clean oval. This will really help with your mechanical advantage and avoid rope jams. So once you've created your nice clean oval, all you're simply going to do is just gently pull on your hauling line till you reach your desired height. This first method I will show how to lock off at the top. So this is what our upline looks like at the moment. I think this direction might help. I'm going to reverse my tension because I want to come across and choke the back of the stem. So I'm going to reverse the tension on my uplines, and I'm going to bring my rope over the top. As you can see, it forms a nice choke or lock across the stem. At the back, this is what it will look like. To finish off our Munter hitch, we want to reverse the tension and come forward. As you can see here, we have 1 lock across the front of the line, but no lock at the back. So this is 1 Munter hitch. To complete the super Munter, we want to repeat that step. So we want to come across the front of our unlocked line, and then on the other side of the carabiner, we want to reverse the tension and come back. To lock, we're going to simply make a half hitch. To do that, some people call it a flag or make a 4. Essentially, just bring your working lines back in front of this rock. It's frustrating. Back in front of your upline and bring the tails through that loop that you just created. For beginners, I always suggest 2 Munter hitches, 2 half hitches, sorry. And there we have it. That is the super Munter and 2 half hitches. You know you've done it right when you have 1 lock across the front and 1 lock across the back. And that is how we create our uplines in our workshops. Great, now I'm going to show you how I lock my uplines at the bottom carabiner, even in a partnered suspension. So we generally teach this in our self-suspension workshops, but even in my partnered workshops, I teach this as it's always good to have an extra tool up your sleeve. I find in an emergency, it's better to have my lines locked down the bottom because then I can work at a nicer pace with my shoulders than if I'm reaching up kind of over a body. Not that emergencies happen often, but it's better for my body. I am a hypermobile body, and whenever I raise my arms above my shoulders, my hands get all tingly as well. So my preference is to just lock at the bottom. It's easy to reach, and there's realistically not that much nuance as to why not. So I've created my hanger. I'm bringing my uplines up on the outside to the inside, creating our really nice oval. I'll just shift the rock this way. Again, outside of the carabiner to inside, making sure that it's the carabiner on the bottom and the top are free and clear. I've got a really nice flat oval with no twists. Once I'm ready, I will haul my rope up to wherever I would like to lock off. Exact same super munter and 2 half hitches method. So I bring my tails underneath and through the carabiner. Then I want to reverse my tension and come across my stem to lock it. In an ideal world, we want to be keeping our rope going directly straight. So in an ideal world, you would come between the carabiner and the hanger line. However, in a real world scenario, this is not always possible because this is very tight under load. So do your best. You can come across it, but make sure you, once you've come across it, make sure you directly reverse the tension and go back the way you came. So here we want to lock in front of the stem, come underneath, bring our tails through and create our half hitches. So I've just put my running ends in front of my upline and bringing my tails through that loop, and I do that twice. That's how we lock at the bottom. Alrighty, and remember folk, we can create a smooth descent tool if we untie our 2 half hitches and we go back to our Munter hitch. We can actually use our Munter hitch as a descent device. So here I'm back to my 1 Munter hitch. As you can see, 1 lock at the front and no lock at the back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit more downwards force on this rock because it's not that heavy. As you can see, if I don't touch it, it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just going to put some force down. Cool. So if you have a nice and, well, an awful angle here, you can see how it's actually hard to feed it out. Whereas if I keep it nice and in line, I'm just pushing on the rope here just to slowly lower it. But keep in mind, you don't want to do this like super fast because you are introducing some mechanical wear and tear here. However, this is very common practice in the climbing world to use a Munter hitch as a belay device. So it's just a nice controlled way to lower somebody. Remember, wide angles mean you're adding horizontal into it, so it's going to be a bit slower than if you're nice and in line. So that's a nice way to let somebody down. It's nice and smooth.